Have you ever done something, then thought, part of me didn't want to do that? We say it constantly. Part of me wanted to stay. Part of me knew better. We treat it as a figure of speech. It isn't. Inside your skull, right now, are two brains, a left half and a right half, two separate hemispheres, each with its own way of seeing the world. Most of the time, they're woven together so seamlessly that you feel like one person, one voice, one you. But in a small number of people, surgeons have cut the bridge between those two halves. And what happened next should not have been possible. Because when you separate the two brains, they don't just quietly keep working, they start to disagree. They reach for different things. In one case, a man's own hand fought to stop him from buttoning his shirt, while the part of him that could speak had no idea why. This is the story of the two minds inside your head, and a single, unsettling experiment that suggests the you who feels in charge might just be a storyteller. Start with the bridge. Your two hemispheres are near mirror images, and they split the work of running you. The left half controls the right side of your body, the right half controls the left, and in almost everyone, it's the left hemisphere that speaks. It holds most of your language. The right hemisphere is, for the most part, silent. Connecting them is a thick cable of around 200 million nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. It's the busiest road in your brain, the reason your two halves act as one. Everything the left knows, it shares with the right, hundreds of times a second, without you ever noticing. So what happens if you cut it? In the 1940s, surgeons started doing exactly that, as a last resort for people with epilepsy so severe that electrical storms were tearing across both halves of their brains. Sever the bridge, and a seizure starting on one side couldn't cross to the other. It worked. The seizures eased. And here's the strange part. Afterward, the patient seemed completely normal. They walked, talked, joked, remembered. Their families saw the same person. For years, doctors concluded that this giant cable, 200 million fibers, did almost nothing at all. They were wrong. They just hadn't known how to look. In the early 1960s, a neuroscientist named Roger Sperry at Caltech decided to look properly, along with his young student Michael Gazzaniga. In 1981, that work would win Sperry the Nobel Prize. Sperry had already seen something strange in animals. Back in the 1950s, he and a colleague named Ronald Myers had severed the connection inside the brains of cats, then trained each half on its own, and discovered that one hemisphere could master a task the other half knew absolutely nothing about. Two separate libraries of knowledge locked inside a single skull. The only question left was whether the same thing was true of people. But first, they had to find the seam. The key was a quirk in how your eyes are wired. What you see on your left side is sent only to your right hemisphere. What you see on your right side goes only to your left. In a normal brain, the corpus callosum instantly shares both. But in a split-brain patient, it can't. Which meant Sperry and Gazzaniga could send a message to just one half of a person, and then ask the other half what it saw. So they sat a patient in front of a screen and flashed a word to his right side, into the speaking left brain. Easy. He read it aloud. Then they flashed a word to his left side, into the silent right brain. They asked him what he saw. He said, "Nothing, just a flash." But then they asked him to reach under the screen with his left hand, the hand the right brain controls, and pick out the object the word named. And his left hand got it right, every time. One half of him had seen the word perfectly. The other half, the half that talks, swore there was nothing there. Two separate fields of awareness in one skull, giving two different answers. It showed up in the body, too. Patients described one hand unbuttoning a shirt that the other hand had just buttoned. One hand reaching for a pastry while the other pushed it away. Two wills sharing one set of arms. But the most famous experiment is the one that turns this from a curiosity into something genuinely unsettling. In 1978, Gazzaniga ran a test with a patient using two images at once. To the left brain, Through the right visual field, he showed a chicken's foot. To the right brain, he showed a snowy winter scene. Then he laid out a set of picture cards and asked the man to point to what matched. The right hand, driven by the left brain, which had seen the chicken foot, pointed to a chicken. Makes sense? And the left hand, driven by the right brain, which had seen the snow, pointed to a snow shovel. Also makes sense. Then Gazzaniga asked the simple question, why did you choose those? Now remember, the man speaking left brain never saw the snow. It had no idea why his left hand had picked a shovel. The honest answer was, I don't know. But that is not what he said. Without a flicker of hesitation, he looked down at the shovel and explained, oh, that's easy. You need a shovel to clean out the chicken coop. He made it up. Instantly, confidently. And, this is the part that matters, he wasn't lying. He fully believed it. His left brain, handed a choice it couldn't explain, simply invented a reason that fit and gave it to him as the truth. Gazzaniga called this the interpreter, a system living in your left hemisphere whose entire job is to watch what you do and spin a story that makes it make sense, even when it has no idea of the real reason. And here is where this stops being about a handful of patients and starts being about you. Because the interpreter isn't a side effect of the surgery only exposed it. That same storyteller is running in your head right now. Every day, you do things, feel things, want things for reasons buried somewhere you can't reach. And your left brain quietly steps in and writes you an explanation that feels completely true. Why you snapped at someone. Why you suddenly trust a stranger. Why you really made that decision. A lot of those confident reasons are stories, assembled after the fact by a part of your brain that is guessing. And you can catch it in the act. In 2005, two researchers at Lund University, Petter Johansson and Lars Hall, showed people pairs of faces and asked which one they found more attractive. Then, with a quiet bit of sleight of hand, they handed the person the face they had not picked and asked them to explain their choice. Most people never noticed the switch, and they cheerfully explained in detail exactly why they preferred the face they had actually rejected. No split brain, no surgery, just an ordinary mind, inventing reasons on the spot for a choice that was never made. The smooth feeling that you are one person, one unified self, in charge, who always knows why, may be the interpreter's greatest work. You are more divided than you feel. You just have an extremely talented press secretary who never once admits it's guessing. Now, scientists are still arguing about how far this goes. For decades, the takeaway was blunt. Cut the bridge and you get two separate minds in one body. But in 2017, a team led by the psychologist Yair Pinto published evidence that it's subtler than that perception can split in two while some deeper sense of being a single person survives. How many yous are really in there is still an open question. But the next time you catch yourself saying it, part of me didn't want to, remember that it might not be a figure of speech at all. There are two of them in there. Usually, they agree. Usually, only one of them does the talking. And the story it tells you, the one where you are a single, seamless person who is always fully in control, is the most convincing story your brain will ever tell. Especially on the days it's making it up. One quick question before you go. Which half of your brain do you think is reading this right now? And which one is about to leave a comment? Tell me below. I read them all. And if you want more of the strange machinery hiding inside your own head, subscribe. There's a new one every week.